So we are at August the 2nd night, or 2023 in Smithsburg, Maryland. And this is Jenny, the herd manager and semi-farm manager here at Misty Many Farms. She has been on AAA analysis, I think, for close to 25 years. Started with Amos Hurst in Virginia, transitioned over about 10 years ago to myself. And we are here, we have some pictures and videos on some cows, but now we want to ask Jenny some questions on the advantage of AAA and why she uses AAA and why she doesn't use something else. And this thing will not light up. Okay, whoops, there we go. How has using AAA made your herd more efficient, or how do you feel it benefited you in a certain way, Jenny?
I guess I feel that AAA is a great tool to help me mating cows to be able to make a more profitable cow. That there's so many different bulls out there that it's hard to pick a good bull that you think is a good bull that meets your herd criteria. But AAA has made it easier to match up a good bull to each cow, if that makes sense. To be able to make a cow that's can make it to the parlor, has good feet and legs, has a well-attached udder, is going to last a long time. So that's the biggest benefit I've found, is helping me be able to pick out bulls that are going to be the best cross on each cow.
So once you determine the information you want, possibly A2, fat, protein,
Yes.
other things that you see on the bull, then basically what you're saying is you'll take those AAA numbers and line those up the best you can to that cow. You already have all the other information available. How has, when you pretty much answered this question, how has AAA made your life easier and more playful as a herd owner? Possibly maybe in buying seed.
Mating cows has always been one of my favorite things to do with managing a herd. I love playing with genetics and seeing what we can make, how big of a change we can make from one generation to the next. But AAA has just been a good tool that I can pick out a good bull that has a good pedigree, has the criteria that I want, but then of that list of bulls that I've chosen, to be able to pick out which bull to put on which cows. It's been a great tool to help me do that.
Yes, I agree. Do you think feet and legs, do you think the lameness, when you first started damming this cow, I remember you telling me years ago, the biggest change when you first started damming was the feet and legs.
So back when we started AAA, we were just coming off of using exclusive herd sires. And our last two herd sires were a Liebman son and a Mark son. I don't know if you remember those bulls, but they were both not great feet and leg sires. So having those be herd sires back to back, we had a herd of cows with pretty terrible feet and legs. So almost my entire herd were 4-6-2, or that combination of numbers, to try to bring back. And so we were using a lot of 4-6-2 bulls. So that's been kind of neat over the years to see the numbers in the cows change from 80% of them being the same three numbers to then these numbers changing to be more.
Yeah, to be opposite. Some of the numbers on the 4-6-5 cows, you're coming back, 2-3-1s or 2-3-4s or 3-2-4s. Opposite, different numbers than what the dam said. Telling you, reminding you that the bull made an improvement on the cow in that area. And even the feet, legs, and the lameness, and the mobility, and all of these cows originally. You have two robotics now starting a year ago, I think, roughly.
Yep, 9 months.
You're in a new robotic barn, and before that, the cows walked quite a distance from the freestall barn down to the parlor, up and down twice a day.
Yes.
So now that made a big difference in the mobility of the feet and legs of those cows. When you buy semen, you find that with all the information they give us, and it's not a particular bull stud, but just the way everything is set up, and we have so many traits, and they keep giving us more traits. Sometimes we get confused, like, oh my goodness, this or that, and then you come back to the AAA numbers and it just kind of puts an end of your decision making.
Yes.
Do you find, some people say you can get too many different bulls in the tank for AAA numbers. Do you find that to be a problem?
I try to have a few good bulls of each of the AAA numbers and then sort of figure it out per cow. I use AAA as a tool to be able to take, that makes sense. I go through the bull book and pick out bulls that catch my eye for our criteria. Feet legs are a big deal. Well-attached udders, obviously with the robots, having teat placement that's correct is a big deal. Then we're moving towards A2 and we're moving towards cold. So those are some other criteria I look at, and then butter, fat, and protein because we make ice cream. So I'm looking for bulls that meet those criteria, and then the AAA numbers, I'll then pool on which cow gets which bull, if that makes sense.
Did you say you make ice cream here?
Yes.
It's time to end this video.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, you think, what about the longevity? You think over the years that some of the cows have lasted longer, or maybe you haven't seen much difference? How do you think that has affected your herd?
It's my belief, again, we're a registered herd, but a more correct cow is going to last longer. So being able to move towards having a more complete, correct, functional cow that can stay in your herd longer. Because everybody, not everybody, we have different opinions, but I feel that an old cow is paying back a lot, triple-fold of having younger cows and having them leave the herd more quickly. And we have different opinions on that. I like old cows. I like old cows to stay as long as possible. We have different opinions on that old cows are a liability and we should move them on quicker. But I really like my old ladies. I love having 8, 9, 10-year-old cows milking with me.
And you have cows like that here. Unbelievable. A lot of herds this size.
Yep.
You can find cows of that age. That probably is coming from balance. And the balance you mentioned that AAA numbers used for 6 2s and 5s, and they come around with different numbers on their daughters. In a closing statement, somebody that does not use AAA, what would you tell them? What do you think would be, you've mentioned all of these things in what you have just said. As a closing statement, how do you think, what would you recommend them to do? What would you tell them might be the biggest improvement right off the bat?
There's so much information when you look at a bull sheet. From the type traits to butter, fat, to protein, to productive life. There's so many things that you're looking at that are kind of being thrown at you to try to specifically pick which bull you want to put on which cow. And I feel like AAA has sort of simplified that a little bit to where I put good bulls in the tank that I know they have good pedigrees, they have the traits that I want. So then when I need to pull a bull for a cow, I then say, okay, these are all good bulls that I put in my tank, so now I'm going to match up which AAA numbers match better. So it simplifies it for picking bulls, putting on cows, and knowing that you're going to get a mating that results in a cow that you're going to be happy.
Makes it easier to buy seed. Amy, do you have something you want to ask her?
When you converted or switched over to your robots, do you feel your cows transitioned easier, better than, because we hear different stories from different robot people that they have cows they have to get rid of a lot because they don't work.
I am the self-proclaimed crazy cow. Every cow in my herd, I know my name. So when we transitioned to robots, when we were talking about transitioning to robots, that was a huge deal. To me, and I have 4 girls that work with me on the farm, was losing cows because of the robots. And we went to dozens of other robotic farms, looking at different robots, talking to different farmers, and they ranged from anywhere from 10 to 20% call rate just based on being able to use the robot. And when I went through and walked my herd with the robot techs to say, okay, we're gonna go ahead, this was 6 months before the robots were due to start, we were gonna go ahead and voluntary call any cows that we felt wouldn't work in the robot. That was one of the steps to moving towards robots. It was go ahead and pick out any cows that others aren't gonna make it in the robots. And I think we found 2 cows that we determined their udders wouldn't make it in the robot. Now, and that was huge for me to say, you know, okay, these cows aren't gonna make it. And one of those cows we actually are still milking in the robot, but she still makes it. She has really short little teats, and they said we didn't think she'd make it, and she's doing fine in the robot. So that was huge to me, to say that I had udders already in the herd that were gonna be fine. That I didn't have udders below the hops, I didn't have teats that were crossed, I didn't have, you know, all these issues. And I think since I've had one heifer that I've had to call because the robot couldn't get attached to her, and that's been a trial and error thing. She was young, she was only 22 months old, and she's had a beautiful little teacup udder, and the robot just couldn't figure it out. So we changed some breeding things on that. But that was huge. And then also being the crazy cow lady, I felt that if you're willing to put the work in on teaching your cows to use the robot, your cows will learn to use the robot. We have one 9-year-old cow that has not learned to use the robot arm. And Lorelai will never learn to use the robot arm at this point. It's been 9 months. She needs me to take her to the robot. But everybody else will use the robot independently.
So their demeanor, their disposition, their behavior towards it just went well.
Yes,
And they
loved the robot. I think it's just more of a teaching an old dog new tricks thing with Lorelai. She just doesn't, she still thinks I need to be present for her to be known.
She needs her mommy.
She needs to know. Yeah, I can relate to teaching the older. Jenny, thank you so much. It's been a blessing working with you over the years, and your excitement about the dairy industry and your love for cows. It's just amazing, and that's what people need to see. And I hope they see that through your passion. You may call yourself a crazy cow